Hi everybody and welcome back to the shop. So today I'm going to make another handle. Again, I was at Rockler and I picked up one of these pigtail flipper kits. It comes with two curved pigtails. This is the 16-inch model. Got myself some walnut. So let's turn a couple handles. Okay, before we get started, I want to go over a few little things as far as my thought process. Whenever I build things, I put a little bit of physics or engineering, whatever you will. I have such an analytical mind that I like to think about how I'm going to use the product and make sure that the way I build it is going to support the way I use it. So right off the bat, I will tell you what I don't like about this kit. It uses threaded inserts. Well, for one, the thread's wrong if you're going to use hardwood, but that's a whole nother subject. We won't get into that. But as you can see, it's just a little, maybe half an inch, 3/4, maybe 5/8, long. And their reasoning for this is that this can be unscrewed and put into the dishwasher, which is absolutely ridiculous because if this is food grade stainless steel, just wipe it off is all you're going to need to do. However, so let's say you put it in just as far as this insert is. Well, if you take your hand and you try to hold it in, you can feel the tension, and it's almost impossible to pinch and hold this at its full length. Well, imagine if you're flipping a tri-tip, which is at least a good 2 pounds. Oh, there's just no use. So you could insert it a little bit longer, and that's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to drill the hole past where these are. So it'll be in a little bit deeper since I have no intention of unscrewing this. So we'll see when we get to that point. I may go ahead and leave it. For some bizarre reason you want to unscrew this handle, I guess you could. Now, back to what I'm just saying about the load that you're putting on this thing and the stress. Well, on a piece of wood, this diameter is going to be a lot smaller, which means the walls are going to be a lot thinner. And you're holding the weight. You could split the wood, is in theory. That's my thought, is that you might split the wood. Well, to combat that, you put a ferrule. That's one of the most common things to do to help take up that load. So what I'm going to do a little bit different, not just standard ferrule or brass tubing. This is actually a brass cap. And my reasoning behind that, adding on to functionality, because this is going to be in a heat environment, you could potentially expose the end. I have an older one of these that I store-bought, and you'll see the end of mine, the handle. It's also a lot shorter length, but it is kind of darkened from exposure to heat. So my theory is if I have this cap, now we have a little bit of a heat shield here to help protect the epoxy from getting soft due to heat. So anyways, we got all our pieces together. I've got my wood cut, squared, ready for center. Let's turn it. One question that does come up a lot in the comments is, what RPM should I turn at? That to me is kind of a loaded question because in all honesty, it really becomes a point of personal preference. Now, what I will tell you on speed that I have found is the faster you can turn, the faster the the higher the RPM, the better the cut will be, and actually safer, believe it or not. Me, like I have stated in the past, I'm still a little gun shy on certain things. Between centers, there really isn't. It's about as safe as you can get in wood turning. So really, it's up to you. Obviously, the higher you can go, the better it will be. Less chance of a catch. I might try to find a link to this one video I saw. It was a great example of why you should spin higher, and the gentleman took his tool and would show you how, at the lower RPM, the tool has a chance, at the lower RPM, your tool kind of wants to do this sort of action, bouncing up and down, and you actually have a higher likelihood of a catch, versus when it's spinning super fast, you're pretty much riding the top. You can kind of see how my finger does that. And so the same applies then. Faster it goes, the less chance of a catch. Obviously, you got to make sure you're not too aggressive. No matter what speed, don't just plunge right in like no care in the world. So that's my take on RPM. Okay, let me get you up to speed here. I've had to restart this so many times, so I'm not sure where I'm at. Okay, we've got our blanks turned to decent round. It's not perfect, but it's good for now. The next step is we're still going to continue to turn between centers. I do prefer to use a chuck when I'm going to drill a hole. However, I realize that the hole I'm going to drill is so small to put the threaded insert that I think I'm going to go ahead and go to the drill press. The issue I've been having is that I'm going to be adding one of these cord loops on the end, so that means I need to drill a hole on both sides. So what I wanted to do was I will put the ferrule on, have that turn down. The problem I realized very quickly is this ferrule, I cannot put this in a chuck. This chuck does not go small enough, and the other jaws don't go big enough, so I literally need something in the middle. I did a lot of thinking, and I came up with an idea of a jig I could make. However, I realized, you know, it's so small. Again, this is like 1/2 inch. I'm just going to go ahead and drill on the drill press. I'm more concerned about the ferrule end than I am the cord loop end. So I guess my order of operation is going to be, we'll put this back between centers, but I can put the end into a chuck. So that's good. That'll make me happy. And we'll turn this down. We'll fit the ferrule, because the ferrule's also going to need to be drilled. But something interesting I noticed with these is there's actually, you're not going to be able to see it, but there's a dimple dead in the center. So my other concern is that when I'm drilling this hole, there's already a little hole here. I don't want them to be off-centered. So we'll turn down the ferrule, put the cap on, and then I'll drill my hole, and I'll drill the other side at the same time. Because if this side, if it's not perfectly centered, this will still be good, and then we'll be able to true it up at that point and shape it to its final shape. So let's get to that. Ready for epoxy, and then we'll put it back on the lathe to finish up the turning. Okay, as we go on to the next step, I realized in the very beginning I misspoke. This kit is from Woodcraft. This is not from Rockler. Okay, and you might have remembered that in the very beginning I made a comment about the type of insert, how it was a coarse thread. Well, this is a perfect example of what that is about. Now generally, when you do anything with hardwood, if you're going to put a screw into hardwood, you have to use fine thread type screws. It just will split the wood, literally, because hardwood is hard, it's not soft, hence the idea of difference between soft. And so you want the coarse threads for soft woods. So to me, it's very silly that they put coarse type threaded inserts, considering I think it's safe to say most people will want to put a hardwood handle, not a softwood. Why would you want pine or poplar for your barbecue handle? You know, I would expect people to use oak or even, what's the other one, alder, or in this case, walnut. So what proved my point is that after I drilled a hole, well, two things. I drilled that hole. Well, I wasn't counting for the brass being there, so it's trying to thread into the brass. So what I did is I went the next step higher, which I believe is 25/64, just to get through the brass part, not too much into the wood. And then when I was screwing in the insert, it was tough. It was definitely a struggle. Now, fortunately, because of this ferrule on here, there's no chance this wood's going to split. So I guess in a sense of the word, I was prepared for that. Now, I don't know if I'd recommend doing what I did with this little cap. This was just an experiment, a standard ferrule. I do recommend though. And then because you're using these inserts that are coarse thread, not fine, if you want to go get fine, the difficult part is making sure you can find this thread. And I don't know if fine thread inserts have the same thread pattern, which I believe these were M8s were the size. And we'll get more into that later. So anyhow, I experimented on the not so good blank. So now on the next one, I should have an easier time getting, well, won't be easier getting the insert in. Because like I said, that coarse thread, it is very difficult to get in. And I don't really want to make the hole any bigger, because then my other concern always was in the very beginning is I don't like the idea of this thing being removable, just for that fact that it could remove. You know, while you're using it, you don't want the thing to just like suddenly come loose. So, but to each his own. Now I've been struggling with figuring out how to put this between centers, as I can't just put it between 2 points since this is all steel with the insert and even this cup. There's nothing to bite onto. And of course, as I mentioned before, my jaws don't go small enough, and my smallest jaws don't go large enough to fit this. So I'm definitely going to need to get some more inserts for this little mini chuck to be able to do this in the future. It's not something I had planned on. So my next thought is I've already got this glue block here, whatever you want to call it, that I've made lots of little attachments for. You can kind of plug in. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that I can wedge this right into the center. And so it just fits. And then I will take a piece of material like this. This is one of those little gripper pads, a shelf liner material. And I'll probably put it down on the bottom so it kind of pushes against to help give it a little bit of stickiness. Now originally what I had thought about doing is from the back, which you see I had a hole in here before, I was attempting to make my own little creative jig where I would take a bolt and come through the back, and I do have a bolt that will fit this. So it is possible that once I get this in there, we'll see if that hole is large enough that I could actually clamp this with a bolt, which the nice thing is as it spins, I think, wait, if it spins this way, yeah, if it spins, it'll actually tighten as it's spinning. So that'd be a good thing too. So we'll see if that works. First, we just got to make this hole big enough for this to fit. And with a clean towel, you just wipe off the excess, and you're left with a really nice sheen that just enhances the already natural beauty of the wood. It's more of a top layer. It's not really going to soak in very much because we put the finish on. But like I said, it's all about presentation, and it gives you a very nice soft feel when you're handing this to somebody as a gift. And then we take our pigtail here. Now they want this to be able to be screwed on and off, so you could put this in the dishwasher, which in all honesty, I don't usually do with stuff like this. I just get one of those disinfecting wipes and I would just wipe off the end and it'd be good to go. So there you have it. Pretty nice, not bad. And I suppose if you wanted, you could put a little bit of Loctite on here if, like I said, you don't really want to take this apart. But my concern is it's going to come loose, but I think we're okay. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, you take care.